And let's go. Since it has been a long time from the release of Alien Romulus and Terminator Zero, a new animated series from Netflix, I thought with myself, instead of doing 2 individual reviews about both of these sequels, why not to make a fight between them? After all, we are talking about 2 classic sci-fi franchises that are very dear to my heart. And since we had these 2 sequels this year, that little question hammers the corner of our minds. Which one was the best sequel? For this, I required the help of the most technological resources to help me create categories that would pit both of these productions against each other and see who wins. I'm kidding, I'm the one who created all the categories. Anyway, there are 7 categories that fit very well with the discussion of which one was the best sequel. So we're gonna have franchise spirit, which means which one was closer to the spirit of the whole franchise. Action scenes, fear and suspense, characters, story and plot, best callbacks, because we know that both the Terminator and the Alien franchise love to shove fanservice into their movies, and finally best ending, because both of these franchises love to have an extra ending in their endings. Before we start, let's be very clear, the points will be decided by me, obviously, according to my opinions, but the space is open for you to leave your comments after about which points do you agree or disagree. So yes, the space is open for you to discuss later, but let's be respectful always, okay? Another question to be cleared is, but Gus, how are you gonna compare a movie to an anime series? They are both very different medias. I disagree. It's very clear in anime history that a bunch of them, if not most of them, are quite better than many big-budget Hollywood movies. And this is exactly the point of this combat. Can an animated series with 8 episodes be better than a movie of just 2 hours? Or not? So starting with the first category, that is franchise spirit. And what I want to have in this category is the idea of being faithful to the spirit of the franchise as a whole and not a copy of it. And we all know that in both Alien and Terminator franchises, they love to make sequels that are basically the same movie of the previous ones, at least repeating the same structure of the first and second movies of both franchises, repeating the same beats with some differences. And here we have Alien Romulus that starts with its own premise, its own idea, and shows us a different corner of the galaxy that we haven't seen before. So we have the concept of the characters finding themselves in a big haunted mansion, but in this case it's a big space station, which is pretty cool, but quickly the movie goes to the let's make references to the first movies and repeats the same beats of Alien and Aliens. Sometimes even Alien Resurrection, but we'll get there. By the way, just a quick warning, spoilers, okay, if you haven't seen any of these productions yet. But in the middle of the movie, you have a scene that makes reference to Prometheus and brings a classic character from the first Alien movie, the Ash android, but with another name that I don't remember now. And until this point of the movie, I was really liking the direction that the story was taking, without hammering our heads with, remember this, remember that other thing? And from this point on, the movie just goes down for me in terms of interest. And in Terminator Zero, you also have the same dynamic of a Terminator coming from the future to hunt a target in the present, but he does a much better job in forget about the references, the connections with the other movies, and let's tell our own story with the concept of Terminator. And this is what I mean about be faithful to the spirit of the franchise. Instead of trying to make the audience go, oh, remember John Connor, Sarah Connor. By the way, there's no reference to these characters in this show. And this is it. It's another story with another Terminator and other targets. So points to Terminator Zero in this category. Now in action scenes, we have 2 franchises that are predominantly sci-fi stories, but that have a blend of horror and action. And in both of them, we have 2 of the greatest examples of action movies in Terminator 2 and Aliens. Both directed by James Cameron, by the way. But in Alien Romulus and Terminator Zero, which one of them has the best action scenes? And I know, many people will question, how can you compare a movie with an anime series? And again, everybody who watches animes know that they have great action sequences and very creative. So this question just doesn't apply. But the point here is which of these productions have action sequences that bring something different and new to the franchise that we haven't seen so far. And starting by Alien Romulus, I think there is one action sequence that fits very well in this category. The floating blood acid in zero gravity. And this scene, ladies and gentlemen, it's very creative, bringing this different and new that the other movies hadn't done before. Whoever had this idea in the script was a genius, because taking the whole idea of the acid blood and using the zero gravity to force the characters having to float and find gaps between the blood, it's just too awesome. I just think the scene could have lasted a little longer, but anyway, it's good stuff. And in Terminator Zero, there are also some good action scenes, but it's the old dynamic of Terminator chasing people and they shooting against him, destroying some chunks of his skin and showing the endoskeleton, so it doesn't try anything different from this. That being said, point for Alien Romulus. Going to the fear and suspense, maybe here comes a polemic point. Because Alien is basically a horror movie in space. And Terminator, it's an action movie that has some elements of horror and suspense. So I believe fear and suspense are two elements that are always holding hands in this kind of stories. In order to feel fear, there needs to be a lot of tension. Plus, the movie or the series needs to play with your expectation of what might happen or not. And here comes the polemic, because I believe Alien Romulus doesn't really scare me. We have the chest burster scene, we have the face hugger scene, and that kind of freaks me out because I am arachnophobic, so some of those scenes actually made me look away a little. But there are all scenes that you know what's going to happen, especially with so many bland characters that this movie has. It's pretty clear there who's gonna live, who's gonna survive. So there's no real tension for me in these scenes. But in Terminator Zero, there is one scene towards the end of the show. I don't remember if it is in the last episode or before the last one. The story basically convinced me that there was a character that was gonna be killed by the Terminator because there was no way out. This specific character is very important to the plot, and he is cornered against a wall by the Terminator, and behind that wall there is another character listening that can do nothing to stop that. I'm not gonna say if this character dies or not, because I think this spoiler should be prevented, but in this scene I got really tense. Even though I didn't really like the character that much, but the scene was able to play with my expectations and really got me in terms of tension. So points to Terminator Zero. Now characters. And this is another polemic point because I don't think any of these productions have very interesting characters. In fact, there's a great lack of charisma in both of them, except for one example that I will talk soon. In Alien, you have all this teenage crew that is basically alien food. So in terms of characters, there's not much here. Whatever if the alien kills or doesn't kill any of them. But there is one character, or at least one character and a half, that are a little more interesting. You have the character of Rain, that is the protagonist, and she's very generic in my opinion. I mean, the actress tries to do a good job with it, but she's generic anyway. And then there is the brother character, that is Andy, the android, and he at least has a more interesting arc. He starts as this very nice and good character, but then he's hacked and becomes this employee for the company, making him act in dubious ways that causes distrust in the protagonists and the audience. This is an interesting element that was never done before in the Alien franchise. Plus, the actor does an excellent job in these two versions of the same character. He really is the highlight among the group of characters. Now, in Terminator Zero, the story focuses on a family, and they are being protected by someone from the future, running away from the Terminator. Actually, the target is the father of the family, while the Terminator uses the 3 children that he has to attract him. But none of these characters has charisma, in my opinion. Not even one like Alien. In fact, some of the children are quite annoying, and you hope the Terminator, never mind. And there is this vibe that the characters are all rude. There's none of them who has a little bit of warmth in their hearts and something that we as an audience can attach to. And there are some revelations in the end regarding the connections between some of these characters, but it is done too little too late for us to feel a real impact. So points for Alien Romulus. Now let's go to story and plot. In terms of plot, I think both movies are interesting. Both bring a concept that is different. Alien comes with this concept that you have a big space station and it is a haunted mansion with the monsters. That's good. That's what Alien should be. And Terminator also comes with the same premise that you have a Terminator coming from the future to hunt a human target. But during the show, and maybe this is a point that being a show with many episodes can give an advantage to it in comparison to a movie. There is a development and a new element that is brought to the story, and it fits the franchise that is this whole idea of artificial intelligence and a new technology that is made to fight Skynet, the great villain of the movies that want to destroy the world. And even though it is a concept that might have some plot holes in regarding to the whole franchise, I don't remember if there are any, but probably there are, it still is a new element that brings a little more color and meat to the story. And by meat, I mean, consistency. You know what I mean. And like I said, for being a series, it has time to develop this element, but I also believe that there are some points where the whole thing stretches for too long. So I argue that this whole story point could be condensed to fit a movie of 2 hours as well. And this is where Alien Romulus loses, because it brings elements from other movies, especially Prometheus, and let's be honest, who wanted to have elements of Prometheus in this one? If at least had some big impact in the story and the franchise, but no, it's just a throwaway for something that will come back in the end, and I will talk more about it soon. And the rest of the story is basically this chicken leg that is just the bone, and if you find some meat to eat, good luck for you. So point to Terminator Zero. Now comes the most polemic category because, like I said in the beginning, these two franchises love to shove fan service and callbacks in all its movies. And to be honest, fan service is something that can please most of the audience. There's some people who likes to see these connections and references to other movies. And usually I don't mind some fan service here and there as long as the rest of the story is consistent. And this is Alien Romulus' biggest sin, in my opinion. For the first time in my history of watching movies, there was one callback that took me completely out of the experience. And then the rest of the whole thing was never the same for me, which is exactly the scene from Andy where he says the line, "Get away from her, you bitch." Which here he says in this very robotic way. Of course, he is a robot, but it looks like even the actor knew that the whole thing was so ridiculous that he didn't want to say it. And many people may say, but Gus, it's just a line. For Christ's sake, stop bitching about it. No. This is the line. A line that works completely in the context of Aliens. Which, by the way, it's my favorite movie in this life, so just the fact that you took a great line from that classic to put it in your mediocre movie, just for the sake of having this moment in your movie, I mean, it's offensive. And like I said, usually I try to ignore and move on. And I tried to do that here, but it was so bad and such a low point that it completely took all the attention I had in the rest of the movie. I started to even think what I have to do in the rest of the day. And I saw many interviews with the director Fede Alvarez. He looks like a cool guy that you would like to have a beer to talk about movies and stuff. But I think he was very naive in thinking that I want that moment from Aliens here. And I want that same moment of impact, of excitement, that feeling of exhilaration to see the final fight between Ripley and the alien queen. And it completely backfired. By the way, I saw many people in the internet trying to defend this scene, saying that, well, he was learning the word bitch from that bullying kid who bullied him during the whole movie. So first of all, trying to defend this very clear callback is just stupid. Second, my answer to this kind of commentary is just, oh, shut up. Meanwhile, in Terminator Zero, you don't have this kind of fan service. You have all the elements of a Terminator movie, but for the first time, there's no "I'll be back" or "come with me if you want to live." And this is the best kind of fan service, when you make your own thing and that's it. I can't believe that I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say now, but after Alien Romulus, I really praise Alien 3 much more for what it tried to do. At least it tried to make its own story without the whole "remember the last two movies, how cool they were? We're cool too." So points for Terminator Zero. And finally, who had the best ending? And let's start by Terminator Zero because I have much to say about Alien Romulus. The series doesn't have this big, grandiose ending. It's good, but it's not that big action scene that finishes with a bang like Terminator 2. The whole ending revolves around a decision that a character has to make, something that will decide the future of the other characters in case this series continue. So it's an okay ending. But Alien Romulus finishes with an action scene that for me, it is the worst of the whole franchise. No, wait, let me back that off. It's the second worst. The worst scene comes from Alien Covenant, the whole rushed ending just to shove the alien in the audience's face. At least here they tried to present a new element, but it's basically the repetition of the worst ending from the worst movie in the series, that is Alien Resurrection. The birth of another alien creature that is basically the mixture of human and engineer from Prometheus and Alien. This creature that they call the Offspring is just terrible. It's not scary at all, at least for me it's not scary at all. It looks like something they took from a ghost movie like Mama or the Wreck movies, the found footage Spanish movie called Wreck. There is a very similar creature to this one in the ending of that movie. And again, it's basically a repetition of what all the other Alien movies do, that is to have a fourth act in the story, when all the characters relax and they think the whole problem is solved, but then another challenge comes for them to face. But here they miss the crucial point that makes this kind of ending work in Alien and Aliens. Because in those movies, it's a shock and a surprise when the creature shows up again to face Ripley. It's a surprise and a shock for both the characters and the audience. Nobody expects that this new challenge will arise. And here we all know that there's going to be something extra in the end because we see that stupid girl that injects black goo from Prometheus in her arm. So it's obvious that there's going to be a new creature for them to kill in the end. But the whole thing is so poorly done that in less than 5 minutes, the creature borns, grows, starts to attack everybody, and it's blew out of the airlock just like in Alien, with no real impact or consequence for any of the characters or the movie itself. Just so that people don't accuse me of being unfair, there is a very gorgeous shot in this scene where the Kaylee Spaney character, Rain, is hanging by a cable outside the ship and floating in space with the backgrounds of the whole ring of meteors that circle the planet. So yes, the visuals in this movie are quite awesome. They are not part of the problem at all. So another point for Terminator Zero, and this makes it the champion of this fight. Now, as final thoughts, I don't think Terminator Zero is a great series, but it's very good, very solid, but it's not gonna become something memorable just like Terminator 1 or 2. About Alien Romulus, it's pretty clear that I really hate this movie. I tried to be fair and share the positive points that there are in the movie, and I do believe there are positive points, but what makes me angry is the fact that it could have been something singular. It was going in a very good direction from the beginning of the movie, but then it threw itself from the cliff just to become this cheap fanservice-y movie. So being a huge fan of the Alien franchise, I don't have any regrets in being ruthless with it. But here's the catch. Opinion is something subjective. It all depends on the sensibilities and point of view of each people. So if you agree or disagree with the results of this combat, please share below your thoughts. And here's another thing. I'm planning to do many more videos of movies fighting other movies in the future. So if you have any ideas what movies could fight each other, please comment below. And the beauty of this is that they can be from any time, any era, any genre, except for romantic comedies, of course. And I'll consider them with the bottom of my heart for the future, alright? And this is it. Thank you so much if you watched the video so far. If you are liking the content of Trashing with Gus, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so we can keep trashing forever. See you in the next trashing video and bye bye.